Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Summarized AI. In today's video, we are going to build a complete end-to-end project from scratch that combines Streamlit, requests, and FastAPI Python library. You will see how these three powerful tools work together to create a fully functional interactive app. I will guide you step by step. So even if you are new to any of these technologies, by the end of this video, you will be confident enough to create your own app that can send requests, interact with APIs, and display results beautifully using Streamlit. So grab your copy and let's jump right in. We are going to create this page to list all users, option to add user, edit existing user, and delete user. So if you click on this particular edit button, you will be added the information of this user. So let me update the name to Mike from Jack and age from 23 to 25. Now, as soon as if you click on the update button, it will update the information. Okay. Yep, it got updated. I see Mike and the age is 35. Now, if I will refresh the page, you will see the information what we have filled earlier is there because we are persisting this information on the server side that we will see how it is working. Now, apart from that, if you wish to delete this user, you can go ahead and click on delete button. It will delete that particular user. Now, after deleting this user, it will show you the message no records found. Okay. Now, if I wish to add one more user here, Mike 23, city Chicago, and password, you can fill anything here. So let's click on add user. Now you see this message will go away and you would be seeing the new user got added. Now, if you again click on edit, you can edit the information of this particular user. So this is the UI what we are going to achieve as part of Streamlit Request API and Fast API for making a call from the server side. Great. So we will divide this development into two main sections. The very first section, we will first create APIs using Fast API library to list users, add, edit, and delete user. And second, we will use Streamlit to create user interface and request Python library to access API. Let's go ahead and start without wasting time and discuss and develop required APIs. Just for your information, I have already created detailed video having end-to-end information on Streamlit, request, and fast API. You can go ahead and check out this video to learn things in detail. Now let's go ahead and start with our implementation. As part of our video, I have created the APIs, or we are going to talk about the APIs related to the user. Okay. So for example, if I'm hitting slash users, I have a domain and I'm saying slash users, it should give me the list of users. Okay. And if I'm saying slash user one, I'm passing the user ID. Sorry, it should be slash user slash one. If I'm passing the user ID, it should give me the data of that particular user. Now, if I'm saying slash user and calling a method post and passing a body where I'm passing ID, username, password, age, city, it will help us to add the data. And once the data gets added, it will return this as status code 201. Okay, this status code or the response code is very important. This tells us whatever data we have sent or requested to the server, does it get completed or it is facing some issues. If it says 200, which means it successfully returned the response. And if it says 404, which means the particular API not found. Okay, if it says some other error, 500 internal server error, which means something wrong in the API. And if it says 201, means whatever data you have sent, that particular data got saved into the server. Means you have created a new entry. So that's why it will return 201, which is nothing but created. Similar to that, if you're deleting something, you are saying delete the user having ID 1. It will delete the user and it will return this 2 not 4. which says content not found because that particular content got deleted, and in the response you have said 204 content not found. And this is how the API works. Now, the very important thing here, okay, which is Uvicorn. Now, to build a web application in Python with FastAPI, you need something called a server to run your app and handle requests from users. This is where Uvicorn comes in picture. So Uvicorn is a lightweight, high performance AGI server, ASGI server. ASGI stands for Asynchronous Server Gateway Interface, which is a common standard for Python web apps that supports async programming. Where why async? Async is something where we can send n number of requests, and server should be able to process all those requests, correct? Or else if it is going in a queue, then the processing time will take a lot of time. Okay, so this particular Uvicorn will process the request asynchronously. Now, in simple terms, fast API lets you write web applications that can handle many requests at the same time efficiently. But fast API itself is just a framework. It doesn't run your app. So if I talk about the fast API is nothing but a Python code you have written. Okay, functions kind of things or the variables. Now you have to deploy this somewhere on some server. Okay, as soon as you deploy on this particular server, UVCon, anyone can use this particular code with the help of some URL. Okay, in the form of services. But UVCon is the engine that actually runs your fast API app, listens to the incoming request and send back the response. So if you are sending a request, it will go to the Uvicorn. Uvicorn will send the request or will call the code, fast API code or that particular API. It will process it and then Uvicorn will return the response. Now, this was all about Uvicorn. Now, why we should be using Uvicorn? First thing we have already discussed, which is nothing but async support by the Uvicorn. And the second one is high performance. And second one is developer easy and the production ready. So whatever you are developing with the help of Uvicorn, you can take that thing to the production. Okay, great. Now let's go back to our IntelliJ, or I would say Visual Studio, and start the implementation. Okay, let's see how we can implement the services. So let me go ahead and create a file which says fast API underscore JSON.py. Okay, now before we start the development, okay, we require two packages: pip install fast API. Okay, this particular command you have to run your command prompt. Okay, as soon as you run, this will install fast API module in our local. Now you see the 1.3.1 got installed in my local. Now apart from this one, you require one more: pip install Pydantic or Uvicorn. Let's first go with the Uvicorn. Okay, so we require Uvicorn. Let's copy this and paste it here. It will install Uvicorn also. Now, once the Uvicorn gets installed with the required version or whatever version it is going to install, in my case, it is 0.4.6. Now, after having both the things, what we can do, we can go ahead and start with the implementation. Great. Now, to use FastAPI, we will be importing a FastAPI from FastAPI module. So let's say FastAPI from FastAPI import FastAPI. Okay. Now, after having this FastAPI, you will create a object of FastAPI. So you can say app equal to FastAPI. We created an object. Okay. Now, with the help of this particular object, what we are going to do, we are going to create a service. Okay. And before going with the service, the very first service what we are going to create is to get the user. Okay, so we are going to say get users. Okay, Now to get the users, you require the array, okay, which will be having multiple users. Okay, so array of JSON object. Okay, so let's first declare user array, which will hold all the users. And here, let's initialize one user. Okay, let's give the data of one user. So ID, nothing one, then comma, name as Jack. Now after this, give age 23 and then say city, which is nothing but Austin. Okay. Now the last is password. So all this detail we have given here. ABC123 is my password. Great. Now once we have this, and what we are going to say, I'm going to say, for example, here what we discussed, if I hit slash users, it should give me the list of all available users in the database. Great. Now we don't have database connectivity, but we are creating a list here, which we are going to return. And this is the list which we are going to make a change. We will add more users, we will update or delete. Okay. Now, if I can go here, I can say at the rate app dot get. So I mentioned like it will be a get method and user is the URL. So here we said at the rate app slash users. Okay. Now let's define a normal function what we have in Python, get underscore users. Okay. It's a custom name. We can have anything. Okay. Now get users. And here what I'm doing directly, I'm saying return users. So whatever we are having here, it should be users because we are going to maintain multiple users. Okay. Whatever we are having here, we are going to return as is. Okay. Now let me go ahead and start Uvicorn server. And to start this particular Uvicorn server, the command which we are going to have is Uvicorn, okay, which we are going to run. This is our Python file name, FastAPI underscore JSON. And then this is our app name, what we have given here. Okay. Now, if I give enter, it will start that particular server. If you see the server got started, this is the URL. If I go and copy, sorry, it got closed. If I get copy and let me open this. Yep, you see, it is saying not found, but our server is up because we got some response from here. But we have created one request as users, one API is users. Now, if I hit the slash users, it will return us the user. Okay. Now it returned us the users because here we created the API, which will get called as slash users, and it returned the user. Now, for example, just a quick, I would say a catch here. Suppose if I'm hitting this particular URL here, and it is saying not found. Okay, how to handle this thing? We are saying slash here, okay, and in the message we can say message. This is first fast API app. Okay, this is the one, and get message, for example. Now, if I will go back, switch off my server and start it again, let's refresh this page. You see, on this particular hit, we got this one. Okay. And when I say this users, I got this. Okay. Now let's do one thing. We are able to get the users. Okay. Now, after getting the users, let's do one thing. Let's try to create one user. Okay. And as discussed earlier, to create a user, we require a post method. Okay. We require a post method, and in the body we are going to send the data of the user. Okay, let's see. So here we're gonna say @app dot post. Okay. And here we are going to say slash user. Okay. Now apart from this, here we are going to say create user. Okay. Now after this, we will require a request and response. I will tell you why we require request and response. Okay. So in simple term, I can say if I'm sending something from the browser, it will come as part of request object. Okay, to the server. And whatever we are returning from server to the client, it will be going in the response object. Okay, we will be attaching it. And if once it will get reached to the end user, they can access anything with the help of response object. Okay, so let's see like how it works. So now let's say here request comma response response. Okay, we got this. Now here say enter. Now after this, let's give one return here, just a dummy return. Now after this, what I'm going to say, I'm going to say this one is async. Okay, I wish to create this thing, and having a sync will help us to save the data asynchronously. Now say data equal to, or I would say not data, I would say user. Okay, I'm getting a user detail. So I'm saying user detail. How would I get the user detail? We get the await, and here we will say request dot JSON. Okay, so whatever JSON we have created here, this particular, the same JSON we will be passing from there in a body. Okay, and everything will be get here as is. And if I say users dot append and say user, okay, it will get append. And here I can say simply r receive we received underscore data, and here I can say users. Okay, now let's see post method slash user, and we are looking for some data in the JSON format. So let's restart our server first. And once it gets start, let's go back to the browser. In the browser, you can see we are able to access the user. Now, because at current point of time, we are using browser will help us only to fetch the data. Okay. If you want to post data, update data, or delete data, we cannot use browser for testing. We cannot use. We can just fetch the data using the browser. So for that, we are going to use Postman. Okay. And using Postman, we will make all the calls. So Postman allows us to make all requested calls. So we can make post call, we can make put call, we can make delete call, and I will show you like there are other calls also. We can make those also. Okay, so let me delete everything so that we can start from the beginning. Let me click and say close all tabs. Okay, so for example, here we were saying slash users. Okay, if you see we have these methods get, post, put, patch, delete, hidden options. These are different method we can use for API. But at current point of time, we are saying get all the users from server. Okay, so if you click on this particular send, it will send the request to Uvicorn. Uvicorn will call our code and it will return this. So we got the users. Now, if I copy this URL, paste it here, and you remember in Visual Studio, we have created slash user. So copy this and paste it here, slash user, okay, API, and we know our method is post because we are sending something to the server. And as I mentioned, we are going to send the user data from body. So body is nothing but it allows us to send the data from client to server. So we can send raw data also in the form of text. We can send JSON, HTML, XML, and JavaScript. Okay, but we are going to use JSON, and 90% or 99% of the cases we use JSON as a data to send to the server in the JSON format. Okay. Now we are already having this particular JSON here. So I will copy this JSON, copy from here to here, not the JSON array, just the JSON, because we are sending a data of only one user. If you are going to send the data of two users, then it should be array and the object is separated by comma. So now here we can say 1, 2, and I can say Mike, and the age is 35, and Chicago, and the password is DEF. Okay. Now, if I try to make this particular request, this request will go to the Uvicorn. Okay. Here our user will get reach in the form of JSON. If I print, the JSON will be coming. So let me print that JSON for you guys once. So user, okay, great. Now let me click on this, or let me first start the server. Yep, server got started. Now if I send the request, you see received data and received the users array as is, and it added this particular information there. And if we go back here, you see we got the user, and this particular user, what we got on this line, we have added in the users object. So we already had one object of Jack. Now one more object got added, what we have passed from there. Now it is two objects, and both the objects we have returned to the postman. So this is how the if you wish to add something or post something to the server, we can do that. Okay, great. Now after this, if you have seen, we have one more API where we are saying give me the detail of only one user, slash user slash one. Okay, I don't want all the users. I want only one user. So let's see how this one user thing works. So for that, again, I require get user. So you see here the get user. I will be creating get user. So say app dot get again, because we are going to get the detail, and here we are going to say user. Okay, here it is user. Here it is also user, but the method was post. But here the method is get. Now we are going to say def, and again think and def, and then get underscore user. Okay. Now once we say this get user, we can pass the user ID here. So we can say slash user ID as a variable. This is what how we are going to get. So we are going to say slash user slash one. And as soon as we say slash user slash one, it will return us the user. Okay, great. Now, what we are going to do here is we are going to loop. Okay, so for example, what would be the logic? Like I'm asking you guys, for example, sorry, it should be async. It should be async def. Okay, and let me say return. That is fine. So what would be the logic? The logic would be we are already having all the users. So we have to loop through the users. Okay. So for index, I would say comma user. Okay. User in for user in enumerate users. Okay. Now we are looping through each and every user. Okay. We are getting the index. And now here I'm going to say if user ID equals to user underscore ID. If the ID got matched, okay, if the ID got matched, what we gonna do here is we gonna return that particular user. So it should be user underscore ID, and we need this in the form of int. Okay. Now once we got this ID, we will return that. What it is saying? It is saying async get user. Okay, this thing here. Great. Now we require a response code also here. So we are going to say this response. Okay, now this is fine. Now what we gonna do? Once this ID got matched, we gonna say users return index, return the user which is at that particular index. Okay, and before returning the user, we wish to update the response code. So we are going to say response dot status code equals to status. Okay, so we have to import the status also. So comma status, and below we can say status dot 200. Okay, great. Now we will see those things. Now, once we have this, what we can do here is we can close the server and start again. Server got started. Let's go back and add this user again. Now we have two users. Okay, so at every time when you are going to give a build, because this user is a file level variable, it will always get initialized. Okay, so that's where it got initialized with one user. Now we have added one. Now here we can simply say get user with ID 1. Okay, let's see what happens. See, we got the user Jack. Okay, and if you see here, we got status 200. Okay, now if I say ID 12, it will give me this data. Okay, now for example, if I added one more user here with ID 21 and say Robo, okay, and then city is you can say New York, okay, and the password is ASD. Add this. Now we have three users. Now the ID of this user is 21. So let's go ahead and update the ID here as 21. So there is one more point I want to call out. Here we have passed this slash 21. Slash 21 is nothing but we call it as URL parameter because we are passing a variable with the help of URL. So this is URL parameter. Okay. And we have one more concept. Okay. Let me tell you that concept also. So suppose if I'm passing something, you can say this is just for testing name str. Okay. If I wish to get this particular name here, okay, and let me print this name, print format name, and here I can say name. Okay. If I pass to this name, okay, there is one more way. What I'm gonna do here is I'm going to say name equal to test. If I make a call, let me refresh the server. Okay, so I'm starting a server again and again. In place of that, I can use reload. Okay, so whenever I'm going to make a change, it will refresh the server and the code. Okay, so we need not to start the server again and again. What it is saying, hyphen, hyphen, okay, spelling mistake, reload. Okay, great. Now, if I go back here, enter, you will see I got name test here. Okay, now if I wish to pass one more parameter, okay, but before passing one more parameter, after question mark, whatever it is coming, key equal to value, this is nothing but query parameter because this is nothing but query symbol, and whatever we are passing in the key value pair, it's a query parameter. And if you want to pass one more, okay, as a country, okay, equal to USA, I can say country equal to USA separated by n%. And if I wish to have one more, I can say again n%, and here you can pass code, okay, like 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, if I wish to access these things, I can go ahead simply and say here, first of all, country, okay, and this is nothing but coming as a string, and then again I'm saying code, which is also coming as a string, okay, and everything I can get it here, country, and then here country, and then here it will be code. Code. Okay, I refreshed. The server got refreshed as soon as I save anything. I will go back, and if I try to say this, it will say null because the user doesn't exist. I will add the user, and after adding the user, what ID I had 21. Now if I say send, it got sent. And if you go to the server, you see name test country USA code 1235. So here we are passing data two ways. Very first is the with the help of URL parameter. and second by query parameter. Okay, great. Now, if I'm saying this here 21, I can say here like one more thing. For example, ABCD. Okay, if I wish to have this ABCD, okay, then no problem. I can go here and here I can say just a variable name. Anything is fine. Um, Custom where, for example. Okay, and this particular custom where I have to write here custom where colon str comma. Now, if I print this custom where, it will give me the value of that particular variable. Okay, custom where str. Okay, great. Copy, paste, custom where, and let me give the name also here, something like that. Now, if I go here, add something, go, I got the response. You see, custom where is nothing but ABCD. This is what we passed. So we are passing multiple URL parameter, okay, and we are passing multiple query parameters also. This is the easiest way how we can pass things. Now, this was just for testing. Let me uh, revert the code. I hope you got the point of the URL parameter and the query parameter. Great. Now let's go and revert the changes. Now here we are. Now we are able to get all the users. We are able to post the user, which means we are able to create the user, and we are able to get that particular user also. Okay. Now there is one more thing I wish to call out. Here I did not add the response code. So we have created a user, okay, in the backend, but we have to return the status. So we can say status code status dot, you see this 201. Let's save it. Now, because I have written 201 created, so if this particular code gets successfully run, and if our user will get add here, it got added to 21 robo, you can see we are getting the response code as 201 created. Okay. Now, if I wish to update this status code to something else, I can say like 204 node content just for testing. Okay, you see it got updated. But every status code has some meaning. So when something gets created, we return this particular status code so that the developer who is on the client side, they can check this particular status code, and this status code means that particular data got saved or created in the backend. Great. Now, after hosting the user, what we're gonna do here is we are going to update the user. Okay. So if I go ahead and say for the update, what we discussed, we are going to use put method. Put update the user of ID 1 or whatever ID you're passing and send the data in the body, that particular data will get updated. Let's see that how we can do. So the same thing, we require app here dot put is a method. Okay. Again, slash user. Okay. This is everything going to be same, only it will be put here, and then slash user ID, user underscore ID. Great. Now here we can say async function get, sorry, update user. Okay. Now here again we are going user underscore ID colon int. Okay. Great. Now I will write the return statement here. That's fine. Now we do understand we are going to update the user. Okay. And because we are going to send the user as part of the body, you do know we are going to get the user by user equals to await request dot JSON. Correct? Request. Okay, I have to pass the request here to get this. So request colon request and then response also required response, and here it's a colon. Okay, so I'm going to say request dot JSON. So we got the user in the form of JSON. Great. Now, once we got the user, okay, after getting the user, what we were doing here, we were looping through the user. So here also we are going to do the same, and we have to find out the user whose ID gets matched. That also I have copied. Okay. Once we got the user ID, what we gonna do here is we are going to get that user with the help of index. Okay. So user, we got that particular user and say dot update and pass that particular user, what we are getting as part of the body. Okay. Now, once the user got updated, you can say response dot status underscore code equal to status dot done. It got updated. Okay. Okay. And in the return, we are going to say simple, same thing. We can copy received data and the users. That's it. If you wish to return the specific user, you can do that, and you can return the list of users also. But here we are going to say like specific user, return the specific user what we have updated. Now our hyphen reload is there, so we need not to stop and start the server again. Server got refreshed. We can go here. Now if I got one user. Now I'm going to add one more. It got added. Okay. Now here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one more API. Okay, so these all things I don't require. That's fine. But if I say 21, I got the robo. Now I'm going to create one more API here. Let me copy this one. We are saying update, and for update we are going to use put method. Put put, and this is what we have written our code base put. Okay, and we have to send the user ID after slash user. So slash user, we are sending the user ID. Now we are expecting the data which needs to get update for that user. So we will go to the body, okay, and from here get this data, okay, raw and JSON, okay. We are expected in JSON. Now for this particular ID, we are saying you can say Rob Tyson, for example, okay, and in place of 35, you can say 24, and for New York, you can say Delhi, okay, for example. Now password is fine, or we can update it to QWERTY, okay. Let's send this request and see what happens. We sent the request and we got internal server error because something went wrong somewhere. Okay. It says, oh, users. It should be users. We are trying to find out the particular users from users for that index. Okay. So let me go back. Let's add one more time. Let's go to the put and click. See the data, what we sent here. Oh, I don't see the updated one here. Give me a minute. Users index dot update. Oh, it's the same. It took the local variable here. You see, user. So we can say um, updated user. Okay, and pass the updated user here. Oh my God. Okay. Post and then put. You see, Robert Tyson and 24. If I go and get the user detail, you see I'm getting the updated user. Great. So our update is working fine. Now let's go towards deleting the user. And you know, we are going to the delete, we are going to use delete method. Delete method we are going to use, and we are going to say delete user having ID this. Okay, and after deleting, just return the response code of 204. Let's see that how we can do that. Okay, so I know I required all this thing. I'm not going to write, I'm going to copy, and I say at the rate app in place of put, I need delete slash user ID I need because I have to identify the user. Now async define here, I'm going to say delete because I'm going to delete the user, and user ID we are getting, request response I need. Great. Now, after this, we gonna get the for loop. Okay. So the same thing here, what we did, let me copy everything. Let's copy things here. I copied. We are going to have a for loop. After having a for loop, we will go through one by one user. And then as soon as we got that particular user match, we can say delete users and then pass the index. Okay, this user will get delete. Now, in the return, I'm not going to return anything, but before returning, I'm going to say response dot status code equal to status dot 204. Okay, and then you can say return from here. Now, suppose if the user ID did not get match, okay, if the user ID did not get match or the ID which we have passed did not found, then we can raise the exception there. Raise HTTP exception. Okay. And for HTTP exception, we are going to import that also, comma, HTTP exception. And here again, we are going to say HTTP exception. And here we are going to pass status code equal to 404, comma, detail user not found. Okay, great. Now let's go back to our Postman. Add the user. I added the user. Now if I get the user, I will be getting two users. Great. Now if I go here, let's copy this URL and open a new tab. And here you can say delete and pass the ID. So we have two users, one having one ID and another one is 21. So let's first try to delete 21. We deleted, you say 200, 204, no content, which means it got deleted. Now if I again try to delete, it says 404 not found because that particular user got already deleted. If you wish to see that, you can click here. You are getting only one user detail. Now again, the user which got left is having an ID of one. Okay, which is having an ID of one. Let's try to delete this user also. So I can say one user deleted successfully, 204 no content. Now again, if I try to delete, it will give me the other user not found because that user got already deleted. Now again, if I say this, it is returning us the empty array because there is no user exists. Great. Now our APIs are ready and same got tested using Postman. As discussed earlier, let's go to our next step and develop user interface with the help of Streamlit and also consume request Python library to make APIs and call we just created using FastAPI. Let's go back to our Visual Studio quickly and create a file project.py. Okay, and before using the Streamlit, we do understand we require Streamlit package. So what you can do, you can run this particular command in command prompt to install Streamlit Python library in your local. And with that, you will also require the request Python library. Okay, so let me go ahead and run this. I'm already having, but I'm just running for the sake of knowledge. Yep, I'm having 1.17.0. Now let's run pip install request. This is also I'm having for this particular version. Now let's go ahead and start the development. So we will be importing the Streamlit as st, and we will also be importing the request Python library to make API calls. Now, after making this, what we are going to do very first thing, as you know earlier, where when we created our APIs, we were able to access the APIs using Postman. Let me get this particular Postman here. And if I click on get, I'm able to get the users. Okay. Now let's see how we can display users in frontend. Okay, using Streamlit. So let's copy this URL, API URL, and say API underscore URL, the very first thing. And here you can keep this URL in double quotes. Great. Now we have a API URL. Now at the top, we can say st.title, and here we can say user management API plus Streamlit. Streamlit. Okay. Now what we're going to do here is we are going to create a function, and that function will make a call to FastAPI to fetch all the users. Okay. And then post that once we get the user, we will display those user on front end. Great. Now we can say load underscore users. Okay. And here colon, then enter, and then try say response equals to, we know like we have a method in the request Python library as get. So we will be using that get method to get all the details from this particular URL. Okay. Now, once we have the response, we can say return response. Give me a minute. Response dot JSON. Okay. If response code is 200. Okay. Equal to 200. Else return empty array. Okay. Now we have a try. Then let's write the accept. Okay. So try accept and return empty array. Great. Now our function is ready. We should be able to get the user information. Now let's go ahead and see if the user information is coming fine. Load users and this. Okay. If I run this particular app, it should be giving me the output. Yes, I'm able to get the users. Now these users we have to show on the front end. Great. Now on the page load itself, if we write if user exists, then we will be showing those users on the front end. Okay. So we're gonna say users equal to load underscore users. Correct. Now we got the users from here. And in place of this, we can directly say users. Simple. Okay. Now, if users, then we can loop through users because at current point of time, we are getting one user, but we might be getting multiple users. So let's say for index, comma u in enumerate. Okay. And inside enumerate, pass users object, click colon. Now from here, we can have an expander. So if I go back to my UI, which I have saved here. So you see, this is nothing but an expander, okay, like an accordion. So we will create this accordion first. So let's go back and say with st dot expander, okay. And this expander, what we were showing the name and the city. So say format, then u. So this is our user, okay. And then you can say name. I need name here. Okay. So you see here name, and then in the bracket we have city. Great. So here in the bracket, we can say the same thing, which is city. So this is the bracket and this one. And then again here, you can say you, the bracket you have city. Okay. Now, once we have this, we can write st dot write. Okay. And in this st dot write, we can simply say star star name colon star star and then you name. Okay. Now similar to this, as you know, we are getting ID, name, age, city, password. Okay. So we got the name. Now we can say age. Now after that we can say city. Okay. Here also we can say city. And then apart after this we can say password. Great. Password. Okay. Now if I go ahead and start this app, and to start the Streamlit application, we have to say Streamlit run and our file name. Enter. Okay. What it is saying? Streamlit. Okay. The spelling mistake. Streamlit run project.py. Great. Our server is up. You see the name is loading. And after the name, we have name as a Jack, age 23, city, and then we have password. Great. Now after this, if you would have seen, we require these two buttons of edit and delete. So let's go ahead and add those edit and delete button. Now, if you see, these edit and delete buttons are coming parallelly, okay, which means we have one button in one column and this button is in one column. So how we can do is we can divide this particular expander in two columns. Okay, in one column we can give one button, in another column we can give another button. So let's go ahead and create columns. So to create a column, we can say column one, comma column two, and then st dot columns. Okay. Now, if you see column three, then it will create column one, column two, column three, 33, 33, 33%. Okay, great. Now we have two variables. Okay, so we can say if column one dot button. Okay, so in the column one, we will require a button and we can say edit. Okay, and for every button, we require a unique key or else it will giving us an error because this is not unique. Now, edit underscore button underscore and then we can provide user ID. Correct. So UID. So this is the ID we have given to the expander. Now here, after giving the ID, you can say st dot session state. Okay, and here you can say edit underscore user. So here on this button, we have said session. So Streamlit dot session state. We have created a session. So as soon as if you click on this particular button, this particular session will get activated. And we will see how this session will call that particular button. So we are saying st.rerun. st.rerun is nothing, but it will kind of reload the page from top to bottom. Okay. Now we said this. Now after this, we will require one more button of delete, but that we will be creating later. Let's see this one first. So let's go back and refresh the page. It is saying st.columns is giving an error. It's saying is wrapped and then okay makes column positional one and spec. Okay, so let's go back and see what is the mistake we did. So we said column one, column two, and column. Okay, so we have to provide the number of columns here. So how if you provide three here, then you will be unpacking three column one, column two, column three. So we are providing the two. We are saying like divide these columns into two columns, equal columns. Great. Now let's go back and refresh the page. Here you can see we have edit button now. Now, if we click on this particular edit button, it should listen that particular click, correct, that particular event or the session what we have created. So if you see key error st.session, this has no key edit user. So now we have to create that particular edit.user session. Okay. So for that, what we can do here is we can say if edit underscore user. Okay. In st.session state. Okay. If we have that, then you can say user equal to st dot session underscore state. And here you can pass that particular session state, what we had here, add it underscore user. Okay. Now, once we are here, you would have seen like if I'm clicking on the edit, I was getting these fields. So let's go ahead and add this title and these fields. So if I go back here, so let's first add the subheader. So we can say subheader as edit user, okay, and provide that particular user detail, format it, and here you can say user and provide name. Okay, great. Now once we have this, you can say name equals to st dot text input. Okay, and under this you can say name and the object is user name. Okay, now similar to this, you can make changes for other also. You can make the same change for age, but age is not a text field. age, we are saying it should be number input. Okay. And here also it should be age, and then this is age. Now next is city. City is nothing but our text input only. So no changes required here. You can say city. Now once we have this, now again you can say password. It is going to be a text input, and again password, and here also it will be password. Okay. Now this will show the information. So if I go back here and refresh this page, and if I click on edit, you would see it is saying st.session edit underscore user. Did you forget to initialize it? Let me see what mistake we are doing here. We have already initialized this particular edit user. Okay, so let's see that first. So if I go back to my code, so we are saying edit underscore user in st.session. Okay, but what I'm thinking here is there is other change. What we require is, let me quickly check. This is edit underscore user. This is edit underscore user. There is no issue. What is the, okay, so we have to initialize also this with the U. Okay, great. Now this is good. So what we are saying, initialize this particular edit user with this user so that once this will get call, okay, and if you're accessing this particular user here, you're saying st.session state user, then it will give this value. So this value will get assigned here. So you will have a reference of current user. So if I go back and refresh this page and click on edit, you see I got the Jack 23 Austin ABC 123. Okay, great. Now what we're gonna do here is we require a button, and click on that particular button. We have to make an API call and update the user information. So let's do that. So for that, like we require a button, which means it is going to be a st dot button, correct? So let's say if st dot button, and here we can say update user. Okay. Now after this, we have to create a payload, because if I go back to my Postman, you see when we were updating, we required this kind of JSON to send it to the server as a request body. Let's create this particular body. So we can say payload equals to, or let me do one thing. Let me copy from here and say something like this. Okay. And in place of this 21, we should say name. Okay. And sorry, it will be ID. And ID is nothing. So ID we don't require it, because ID we are passing directly from the URL. Okay, so I will show you like how we are passing the ID. So here we require name. You can say name, then you can say age here. Then again, you can say city. Okay, then again, password. Okay, this assignment is done. Now we have to call a function, okay, which will make a API call. So that way we have created this function to load users. Now we have to create one more function to update the user information. Okay, so let's go ahead and say define update user, and inside this we require a user ID for which we are going to update this particular information. And also we require a data which JSON body we are going to pass. Great. Now response equal to request dot. So if you see back here, we have this URL. We are using a post method and this particular JSON. So request dot post. Now we require a URL. So URL what we are having is the users to get the user. Now we will require one API URL user, for example. So remove this users from here, only user. Keep this URL here, something like format, and then keep it here. Okay. Now once you have this URL, you can say again user ID. Okay. And then comma JSON equal to data. So you're calling this particular URL slash user ID, which is a variable, okay, and then JSON. So this is the same thing what we were doing here in the put request. This should be a post, sorry, we are working on the update. So this is put, sorry, my fault. So put request and the URL is user slash user ID and the same body. Okay, this is what we are doing. Now, once you have this function ready and we can say return res. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy this function or method. And if I go down, then paste this particular method there to consume it. Okay, great. So st dot button and it should be something. Oh my God, wait. It should be something like this. Okay. Now here you can say update user and you require a user ID. Okay. So to get that particular user ID, we know we can do something like this. So it will give us the user ID. And then the data what we have to pass is nothing but the payload. Okay. So this way we will be able to save the information. Now, once it is saved, then we are going to delete the session because that particular user should not be there. So delete st dot session state, and in this session state we are going to pass the same value edit user. Okay, so because this particular operation is done. Now say st dot success just to show the message like this particular um, update is done, and we can say user updated. Okay, now you again say st dot rerun because once the changes are run, our application will reload and show the latest value. Great. Now let's go back here and refresh this page, and you would be seeing this edit button. Now here in place of Jack, I'm going to say Mike and age is 35. In place of Austin, I'm going to say Chicago and the password is TEF or let's say QWERTY. Okay. Now update. Now as soon as you click on update, it should update the information. Okay, so let me go back and check if the information got updated. Yes, you see the information got updated. Now if I click on edit, it will show me the updated information. Now if I go back here and try to get the user, you see in place of Jack, it has started showing Mike. Okay, great. Now this was all about how we can edit the user information. Now let's go ahead and copy this function for the edit. Similarly, that nothing is required. So in the column one, we have added one button. We have add one button. Now let's go ahead and add one more button in the column two, which will say delete. Okay, and in place of edit, it will be saying delete as a key. Okay, should be a unique key for delete and edit. Now here also you can say delete user. Okay, but here we don't require this particular thing because we are not going to pass. So we can say delete underscore user. Okay, and while delete underscore user, if you go back to the API for delete, we just require the ID, and that this ID will be enough to delete the user. Okay, so here we are going to say delete user, and you say u and pass the ID. Okay, now we require this particular function. So we will go back here and let's do one thing. You can say df and copy this, for example, for as of now. So we just require a user ID, say this, and we don't have to send any data, just a user ID require. So this is our URL slash user ID, and in place of put, I know we require delete as a method. Okay. Now, once we say this, our thing, and we have written this also. Okay. Now, let's try this thing. Let's go back. Our method is ready. So let me go back and explain you again. So we have added one button, add one button in the column two as a delete. Now, if you click on this particular button, it will call the delete user, passing a user ID. So once this function will get called, it will make the API call to delete the user. And once the user is deleted, it will reload the app to show the latest information. So let's go back here and refresh this page. Now, after refreshing the page, you would see we are able to see the delete button. Now click on the delete will allow you to delete that particular user. Now, if you go ahead and refresh this page, you don't see any user. Now we are good with the delete user. Now let's go ahead and write code for creating a user. And we know like to create a user, we require a post method. And also while creating user, we require the ID. Okay. But we are not going to, ask an ID from the user. We are going to dynamically generate that ID using the random int method and from the random package. So what we are going to do here is we are going to import random. Okay. Now, after importing the random, let's create a function first and say create underscore user. And here you can say data. Okay. This is what we require. We have to pass the name, city, password, those things, and age. So this will be coming as part of data. And in this data, we have to append the ID. So we can say data ID, and ID is going to be random dot randint. And inside this, we are saying let's have ID 1000 between 1006. Okay. Now, once we have this, we can say res equal to response equals to, and you can simply call the request.post. And for this, we require the API URL, something like this. So let's say this, we are using a new user. We are going to add a new user. We don't require user ID. Now post on this URL and pass the data. It will allow us to add that particular user. So if I go back to my postman, where Mikhail called this URL, this is the JSON, post is a method. That's it, three things. So those three things we are passing: post, API URL, and the data. So this way we will be able to create the user. And at the end of the day, just return the response. That's it. Now this is done. Create user method we have already written. Now let's go ahead and create the form. Okay. So go at the end of the page and here you can say st dot subheader. And here you can say add new user. Okay. Now we require a similar form what we have created there for update. So let's create that kind of form. So name equal to st dot text underscore input. And here you can say name. Okay. Now copy paste for age. We require a number input. So here you can say number input, and this is going to be an age. This is my label. Okay. And this is the variable name. Now again, you are going to say city here, and this is my label again, city, and password. The label is going to be a password for this particular field. Okay. Now I will require a submit button also. Submitted equal to st dot form. Okay. Now, okay, so we have created a method. We have to create a form also. So where we can submit this particular form. So we can say st dot form underscore submit button and then add user. Okay, so because we are using a form, so we have to initialize that form first. So with st dot form, and you can provide the name of that form. Add underscore user underscore form. Okay, now give the tab here. Okay, now we will write this later if submitted. Okay, if this form submitted, then we will see what is going to happen. But before that, let's go back to our page and refresh it and see what it is giving. It is giving this particular form to us. See, okay. Now here it is giving 0.00. Okay, and to resolve this particular issue, what we can do here, we can say min value 1. So there is an attribute where we can say min underscore value equal to 1. So if I go back and refresh this page, you see I'm getting 1. And if I increase, it is increasing. Now, we have provided this particular value, and on submit, we are asking to add this particular information to the backend through API call. So we have already written that particular method to create user. Okay, and this particular method is looking for the payload. Similarly, what we have created for add. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's copy from here, and you can say if submitted, then directly payload name HTTP this thing. Okay, now you can call the create user, and in the create user you can pass this particular payload. Once it is passed, and on success, you can say user created, and enter st.rerun to reload the app to show the latest information. Okay, so let's go back to our page, refresh this page, and let's try to add a user. So you can say robo, age is 22, city is Chicago. Okay, and password is QWERTY. Let's add the user. What it is showing? It is showing password is not defined. Okay, let's see what it is saying password. Oh, the spelling is wrong here. So password here and password here. Okay, let me update this here also. So it was password here and then password here also. Should be same. Yep. Now let's go back and refresh the page again and provide again the robo, then 22 age, Chicago, and then provide the password as QWERTY. Okay, and if I add this user, it shows add user got added. Let me refresh the page. I'm not sure why it is not showing the latest information. I think there is something wrong happened while adding the user. So it is showing an error. Decode code. Okay, great. I think there is something wrong while sending the data. Let me do one thing. Let me print this. Oh, okay. I got it. It is expecting a JSON. So we should say JSON equal to data. Now if I go back again and refresh this and say robo, and then quickly say 34 and city say Phoenix, and here you can say any password, add user. So you see the user got added. Okay, and if I wish to edit this user, I can go ahead and click on edit button, and this edit button will allow me to update the name, age, and the city. Okay, if I update the user, I'm able to update the user, and I refresh the page. Okay, after refreshing the page, I'm getting the latest information from the API, and it is showing me the right information. And if I delete it, the user got deleted. So this is how we can create the user interface through Streamlit. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found this video helpful and want to see more video on AI, don't forget to like and click on notification bell icon to stay updated and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Thank you. Till then, bye-bye.